What is the best credit card for you? Well, that heavily depends on how much money you spend in any given year. And that's exactly the question we are going to address in today's video. We are going to build the optimal credit card strategy in the UK tailored to your level of spending. And before we jump in, I just want to make one thing clear. When it comes to credit cards, at least for the purposes of this video, there are two main types of them. The first one, let's call it the benefit-centric cards. And here think, for example, of the Amex Platinum. The main goal of the Platinum card is to give you access to various perks, regardless of how much money you spend on the card itself. Of course, in exchange for a hefty annual fee. And once you have paid that annual fee, you can literally just drop the Platinum card in the drawer and never even touch it, and you will still have access to things like airport lounges, travel insurance, elite status at your favorite hotel chain, and so on, all thanks to the Platinum card. It's just the benefits you receive are completely independent of how much money you spend on the card. And if you do spend something, you also receive 1 membership reward point per every pound spent, but that's not exactly a competitive rate for such an expensive card. But then the other type of cards, let's call them the spending-centric cards, primarily focus on rewarding you for spending in the form of cashback or points or other benefits. And they usually do this in a more generous way than the benefit-centric cards. And that's actually the reason why I came up with this distinction in the first place. So in today's video, we're going to focus primarily on that second category, the spending-centric cards, and we are going to figure out a way to maximize the benefits, be it cashback, points, or anything else that you can get out of your existing spending. And I really want to emphasize the point about existing spending here, because the goal is not to spend more money. The goal is to get the maximum you can get in terms of benefits out of the money that you already spent. And generally, when it comes to credit cards, the best way to use them, and actually in my mind, the only way to use them, is to pay off the entire balance at the end of each month so that you never have to pay interest. And that way you get all of the benefits and none of the costs. All right, we're going to start at level 1 of spending. That's how I'm going to call it. And I'm going to define level 1 as anyone who spends between 0 and £10,000 a year on their credit card. Within this bracket, one of the good options to go for are cashback cards. For example, the everyday cashback card from Amex will give you 5% back on everything as part of a welcome offer, assuming you're a new Amex customer. And then once your welcome offer runs out, the cashback rate will drop to 0.5%. But even with this lower rate of 0.5%, there is still a way to get a little bit more by combining the Amex cashback card with other products. For instance, the Chase debit card in the UK offers 1% cashback, so double the Amex rate, but only on things like groceries, fuel, and transportation costs. Or there is the Amazon Barclays card, which offers 1% back, but only on Amazon purchases. So something you can do is, let's say when you go grocery shopping, you pay with your Chase debit card, earning you 1% back. And when you buy things that are not part of any special category, you fall back to the Amex cashback card to earn 0.5%. And so someone spending £10,000 a year on their cards could earn in the first year up to like £200 of cashback, assuming they're eligible for the Amex welcome offer, and also they have a fallback card for special categories like groceries or fuel. The other avenue you could explore is earning points like Avios or Amex membership reward points instead of cashback. This one though, within the spending bracket of up to £10,000 a year, is a little bit less clear-cut. And let me explain. For example, let's say you go for the Barclays card Avios, which is a free card that earns you 1 Avios per pound spent. At £10,000 of spending per year, at the end of year 1, you would end up with 10,000 Avios plus potentially another 5,000 from the welcome bonus, so a total of 15,000 Avios. That might sound like a large number, but when it comes to booking flights using Avios, it's not going to take you that far. For instance, a return economy class trip between London and Barcelona is going to cost nearly 15,000 Avios and like £35 in taxes. And then if you compare that to the price of the cash ticket, of course dependent on when you're flying, the savings you made thanks to using the 15,000 Avios may not be that considerable, and the cashback route may still be more lucrative at this stage. There is one more sort of strategic reason not to go with a points or Avios card at level 1, but we're gonna talk about that as we head into level 2. All right, level 2 is gonna be anyone spending between 10 and 20,000 pounds a year. Here again, one of the options would be to just stick to cashback. For instance, the Amex Everyday Cashback card that we just talked about as part of level 1 will increase its cashback rate from 0.5 to 1% on anything that you spend beyond £10,000. Alternatively, Amex does also have a paid version of this card that charges a £25 annual fee, but offers a higher cashback rate. And the break-even point here is around £12,000. So if you spend more than £12,000 in a year, then the paid version of the card is going to earn you more money than the free one, even despite the annual fee. And if you want to dive a little bit more into the world of cashback cards, I will link to a dedicated video down below in the description about the best cashback cards in the UK. But in this video, from this moment on, we are going to mainly focus on points earning cards. So once you are in this £10,000 to £20,000 of spending bracket, earning points instead of cashback starts to make quite a bit more sense than it used to at level 1, assuming of course you're planning to use your points to book flights or hotels. For example, the Amex Nectar card would be one of the safest cards to start with, especially if you're new to the whole world of like reward flights and points, and there are multiple reasons for that. First of all, the Amex Nectar card is free in the first year, so you don't have to make any large financial investments, and even from year 2 it only costs £30 a year, and then it earns you the equivalent of 1.25 Avios per point. And then further, if you're new to Amex, it also offers a welcome bonus of 20,000 Nectar points, which is equivalent to 12,500 Avios. So someone who spends, let's say, £15,000 a year in year 1 with the Nectar card would earn a little bit over 30,000 Avios from the combination of the welcome bonus and the ongoing spending. And another reason why I consider the Nectar card to be a safe option for someone who's just starting out with reward points is that Nectar points are kind of flexible, so instead of converting them into Avios, you can redeem them as cash at places like Sainsbury's, Argos or eBay as a fallback option in case you change your mind about using them on travel. And finally, holding the Amex Nectar card and receiving the welcome bonus on it does not disqualify you from some larger welcome bonuses on some of the higher tier cards in the future. I'm not going to go into this whole description of how welcome bonuses work because it's a little bit complicated and it's not the right conversation for this video, but I will link to a dedicated video down below that is focused on welcome bonuses specifically and how you can get the most out of them. But moving on, at this £10,000 to £20,000 spending bracket, another option you could look into is earning convertible points so that you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of how to spend them. For example, the Amex Gold card earns membership reward points which are convertible into Avios, but they're also convertible into more than 10 other airline and hotel programs, giving you a lot of options of how to spend them, and they are even convertible into cash, again, which you can use as a last resort. So the Amex Gold card earns 1.5 membership reward points per every pound spent, where the 1 point per pound is the basic earning rate. And then whenever you reach £10,000 or £20,000 of spent in a year, you receive a bonus of 5,000 membership reward points for each of these milestones, which essentially takes your earning rate to 1.5 points, assuming you don't spend more than £20,000 in a year. And then on top of this, the card also gives you 1 extra point for every pound that you spend with airline websites and 2 extra points for every pound that you spend on Amex Travel. So if you do book air travel frequently, this card may significantly boost the number of points that you earn. Finally, the welcome bonus on the Amex Gold card regularly reaches 40,000 membership reward points during special promotions. So someone who spends, say, £20,000 a year on this card would end up with 70,000 points at the end of the year from combination of the welcome bonus and ongoing spending rate. And in terms of the annual fee, this card is completely free in year 1, but then from year 2 the fee jumps up to £195 a year, but it does also have a couple of benefits that can help you offset the fee. First of all, you get £120 a year in Deliveroo credits that are broken into £5 installments twice a month, and then you get 4 complimentary lounge passes via Priority Pass that you can use at airports. Finally, the card does also have a few less obvious benefits, which I'm not going to go into the details of today, but again, I will link down below to a dedicated review of the Amex Gold card, as well as one similar card in a kind of a similar price range that also earns transferable points. And we, in the meantime, are moving on. So if you are at the higher end of level 2, i.e. you spend more than £15,000 a year, then cards like British Airways Premium Plus or the Barclaycard Avios Plus become potentially viable. But here you need to really know what you're doing and know what exactly you are trying to get out of your credit card. So let me explain why. Both British Airways Premium Plus and the Barclaycard Avios Plus earn 1.5 Avios per pound, and then in addition have quite generous welcome bonuses. For example, the welcome bonus on the British Airways Premium Plus regularly reaches 60,000 Avios during special promotions. So someone who spends, for example, £20,000 a year on the British Airways Premium Plus could end up at the end of the year with 90,000 Avios from the combination of the welcome bonus and the ongoing spending rate. But that is not even the main benefit of this credit card. When you spend £15,000 a year, you will unlock something that is known as a companion voucher, which gives you a 50% discount in the number of Avios that you need to book a return trip for up to 2 people. So for example, if you have 90,000 Avios, with the voucher, you could stretch them and book something that is worth 180,000 Avios instead. And then the more Avios you have and the longer of a trip you're booking, or the higher the cabin class you're booking in, the more Avios you will save thanks to the companion voucher. And in fact, a lot of people refer to it as the most valuable credit card perk in the UK. But now let's discuss why you need to be careful with these two credit cards. The reason is, first of all, they are quite expensive. The Barclaycard Avios Plus carries an annual fee of £240 and the British Airways Premium Plus has an annual fee of £300. And obviously the right customer for this card will make far more value out of it using the companion voucher than what they pay in the annual fees. But the thing is, I've seen so many people get out the British Airways Premium Plus, pay the annual fee, trigger the companion voucher threshold by spending £15,000, and then they have the companion voucher, but they cannot spend it because they didn't think it through ahead of time. And for example, they don't have enough Avios to book the trip they want, even with the 50% discount, or they're not ready to be flexible with their dates, so they can't find Avios availability. So my point is, before taking out a credit card like the British Airways Premium Plus or the Barclaycard Avios Plus, you need to kind of know what exactly you want to get out of it, and ideally have a little bit of knowledge of booking reward flights. And by the way, here on the channel, we are going to be talking more about redeeming your points for flights and different techniques you can use, as I have been realizing this is a little bit of a knowledge gap that a lot of people have. And I have even started building a couple of simple online tools that can help you understand how to best redeem your points like Avios. So if all of that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing to the channel and following along. All right, and now let's move on to level 3, which I'm going to define as anyone who spends over £20,000 on their card. And the reason why I'm bucketing everyone above £20,000 into the same kind of category is because there are very few cards in the UK, in fact only 2 cards in the UK, that unlock specific incentives when you spend more than £20,000. And the thing is, at this level, when you go beyond £20,000, it's more about combining different credit cards in a clever way, as opposed to just hitting spending targets on a single card. But anyway, first of all, speaking of the 2 cards that I mentioned, the British Airways Premium Plus credit card, which we already discussed at level 2, does require you to spend £25,000 a year in order to receive 2,500 tier points in the British Airways Club. So if status with BA is important to you, that may be another reason to get the British Airways Premium Plus card and keep spending on it beyond the £15,000 that are required to trigger the companion voucher. The other card is the Marriott Bonvoy card from American Express. If you are a regular at Marriott hotels, this may be relevant for you, as the card gives you Marriott Bonvoy Gold status when you hit £15,000 of spend a year, and then if you get to £25,000 a year, it will also give you a free night certificate. But to be completely honest, these benefits are a little bit questionable because the gold status has very limited benefits with Marriott, and then the free night certificate is restricted to mostly lower class hotels. But in any case, as I mentioned, when you go beyond £20,000 of spend, and especially actually beyond £25,000 of spend, let's call it level 3.5, it becomes more about combining different cards rather than focusing on just one. For example, something that I've seen many people do is get the British Airways Premium Plus, spend 15k on it, trigger the companion voucher, then go ahead and also get the Barclaycard Avios Plus, spend 10k on it because actually the threshold for the upgrade voucher on the Barclaycard Avios Plus is lower, and then also get that voucher as well. So they have spent a total of £25,000 and they have 2 vouchers. However, this is also increasingly niche because you need to travel enough, and more importantly, you need to have enough Avios in order to redeem both vouchers for good enough value. And personally, even though I fly quite a lot, last year when I had both the companion voucher and the upgrade voucher, voucher, I actually struggled to use both, especially because I find the upgrade voucher quite restrictive since you have to use it with BA only and your flights have to depart from the UK. But I mean, it definitely does work for some people. Another combination you can do, and this is actually the one that I do, I use the Amex Gold as my main daily spender card because I just like the membership reward points for their flexibility. I also like getting extra points when I book directly on airline websites or with Amex Travel. So I put as much spend as I can through Amex Gold, and then every 2 years or roughly so, I also get the British Airways Premium Plus because 2 years is how long it takes to become eligible for the welcome bonus on this card again. So I trigger the companion voucher as soon as I can, I grab the welcome bonus, and then I close the British Airways Premium Plus and I go back to Amex Gold. That way I have the voucher and I have quite a lot of points from Amex that I can convert into Avios if I want, or I also can convert them to other airlines or hotels. And obviously you can combine any cards and any number of cards in this way as long as you have enough spend to trigger the benefits that you need, and those benefits are valuable to you enough to justify the annual fees that you pay for your credit cards. And finally, there is one more unpublished benefit, at least with Amex, that becomes more valuable as you spend more money on your credit card, and that is the retention offers. These are basically the bonuses that you can ask Amex for at the end of your membership year, and the more you spend on your card, the more generous Amex is going to be. And here's a video where I talk about everything you need to know about retention bonuses in order to get the maximum value out of them, so consider watching it next. And in the meantime, thanks so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.